What's up, guys? Here for the Week 8 review. To start, we had one trade last week. I believe that trade was between Philip and Dakota. Yeah, that's correct. Uh, Dakota sent Doug Baldwin and Doug Martin. Doug squared to Philip for Latavius Murray, Dalvin Cook, and Randall Cobb. Um, Obviously, it looks like Philip gets the better receiver there. I think Dakota gets the better running back. Now, granted, which one? Because Murray's been playing, and then even when Dalvin Cook's healthy, I kind of wonder if they're going to give him 100% of the workload. Obviously, Minnesota is probably a team that will likely make the playoffs, and they may try to hold him out as long as possible to maybe utilize him full strength in the playoffs. You never know with that situation. Obviously, Doug Martin's the starter in Oakland now with the Marshawn Lynch injury. I'm not sure what he did on Sunday, but I'm assuming it probably wasn't much. So we'll see how that goes there. Now we'll jump to the scores here. First up, we got my game versus Philip here. I won this matchup 137 to 104. So I remain undefeated, and as you guys will already know, and I'll discuss, I am the only undefeated team remaining. I had Rodgers with 16, Gurley had 31, Barkley was 16, Devontae Adams was 16, Thielen with 19, Chris Carson had 19. I had 12 out of my kicker. A lot of bye weeks on my bench, plus an injury. I played the right running backs. Kept Chubb on the bench, who had 8.5. So I got the most points I could have gotten out of that. Did have the Ravens defense, who got -4. I mean, everybody else pretty much got what I would have expected. Looking at Phillips' team, Watson with 31, Kenyon Drake with 23, Odell had 18, Robert Woods with 10. Not much else going on there. Not a ton on his bench. As we mentioned, he had Doug Martin on the bench. He had 8. So a little bit of production there. He did have Jack Doyle on the bench with 16. Could have played him over Jimmy Graham, but considering he's just coming off injury, definitely not even a consideration I would have made. For some reason, I thought Jimmy Graham scored a touchdown, but I guess not. Doug Baldwin, his new acquisition, got him 3.5, so not much there. Nothing really going on his bench. I mean, disappointing day. Obviously, I don't know what he was expecting out of Kenyon Barner. I know I expected him to, at least get some carries. I mean, he got 0.4 points, and he was only on the field for 7 snaps. So I thought he would be a little bit more involved. It looks like they gave a lot of the work to James White and even tried to involve Cordell Patterson back there. Tough day for John Brown, who had 4 points, Jimmy Graham with 2. Everything else kind of pretty much what you may have expected. Next up, we have Dakota versus Joseph. Dakota won this one 146 to 129. Dakota had Cousins with 21, McCaffrey had 20, Howard had 14, Hopkins with 23, Latavius Murray had 18, Redskins defense with 14, Will Lutz with 16. Had Wentz on the bench, who had 23, so he could have got a few more points at quarterback there. And everybody else on his bench was hurt or on bye, or I'm assuming Benjamin Watson played, but he didn't get any points. Looking over here at Joseph's team, Patrick Mahomes had 26, Philip Lindsay with 19. He's probably one of the top free agent pickups on the season. Mike Evans with 27, Jared Cook had 15, Mark Ingram with 11. Had Smallwood on the bench with 14, could have got a few more points there. Hayden Hurst on the bench had 10. Chris Thompson only got him 3 points in his lineup. The way Emmanuel Sanders has been playing, you probably expect to get a little more than 7 out of him, but I mean, you can't fault him. That's not horrible. I mean, not a horrible day out of his team, just had a pretty tough matchup here. Next up, we have Dalton versus Derek. This was one of the more intriguing matchups of the week. We'll look at Dalton's team here. He had sucky Jameis Winston, who had 8 points. James Conner with 36. Kamara with 24. 27 out of Sammy Watkins, 17 out of Pat's defense. Obviously, most of you guys know Pat's defense got a pick 6 late in that game. And we see Dalton won here by 5 points exactly. So that swung the matchup there. That pick 6 was huge for Dalton here. Some duds. I mean, David Njoku got 0. Chester Rogers with 2. Traquan Smith with 3. Alshon Jeffrey with 5. I mean, all his receivers shitting the bed outside of Watkins. And obviously the quarterback issues there. Justin Tucker with only 3 points. I mean, you probably expect to get a little bit more out of Tucker there. Did have Evan Ingram on the bench who had 11, so he could have got 11 more points playing him over Njoku. I mean, you play kind of either one there. It's kind of a toss-up, and then a lot of guys on bye week for him. Looking over here at Derek's team, Goff with 27, Lamar Miller with 19, Tariq Cohen with 18, Will Fuller with 21, all before he tore his ACL. Had Russell Wilson on the bench with 23, so he played the right quarterback there, and not much else as far as scoring goes on his bench. Demaryius Thomas had 5 points. We all know he got traded today. So we'll see if that can help his value. He got traded to the Texans. So, he loses a Texans receiver. He gains a Texans receiver for Derek. So I think it'll increase his value a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be a skyrocket by any means. I don't think he's the same kind of receiver Will Fuller is. And so we'll see how he fits in with that new team. Smith-Schuster with only 5. You expect a little bit more there, but everybody else is probably pretty on par with what you'd expect. Next up, we have Orlando and Brian. A huge blowout here. This was 156-63. I'm looking at Orlando's team. Andy Dalton with 20, McCoy with 13, Marlon Mack with 28, Fitzgerald had 22, Edelman had 16, Brown had 22, Ebron with 11. Greg Olsen had 14. He played double tight ends this week. Lots of players on his bench were on bye week. Really no duds in his line. I mean, maybe if you say Dan Bailey, we're only getting 2, but everybody else, performing. I think this was the highest score of the week. So, Orlando started off with a rough season, but he's really turned it around. I want to say Orlando's on a 2-game win streak, so I thought maybe he might have won 3 in a row, but just 2. We look over here at Brian's team. Tom Brady had 14, his kicker had 15, and everybody else had single digits. He had Aaron Jones on the bench who had 16, could have got some more points there. Aguilar had 8. Just kind of a crappy day for his guys. I mean, looking at his team, maybe you expect Crabtree to get more than 5. I definitely expect Galladay to do better than 2, especially T.Y. He only got 4. You expect more there, but everything else is kind of on par. He just doesn't really have the best-looking team here. Obviously, Brian is in last place, or tied for last with Phillip, I believe. But if you guys look at the points against, I believe Brian has played the hardest schedule, so it doesn't help that his team is already not performing well and doesn't really have the best team. But he's also playing a lot of the higher scores every week, which is making things a little bit more difficult there. Next up, we got Chad and Steven. This was a very close matchup, and guys who are competing right there in the middle of the standings. Chad lost this one. It was 127 for Steven to 124 for Chad. Chad had Andrew Luck with 24. Jalen Richard had 10. Michael Thomas had 11. Diggs had 23. Marvin Jones had 27. Maybe he'll get some uptick in value with Golden Tate getting traded today to the Eagles. Marquise Goodwin had 12. Had 17 out of Stafford on his bench, so he played the correct quarterback there. Also had some bye weeks on his bench there as well. Corey Clement with 1 point, hurt him in this one. But not much he could have done about it. He didn't have any extra running backs on the bench. He didn't play a running back in the flex by any means. All his receivers, he got the maximum amount of points he could have gotten out of that. So, no poor coaching decisions led to that loss for him. Looking at Steven, Cam Newton with 28, Collins had 11, TJ Yeldon had 13, Tyler Boyd with 24, Amendola had 12, Ertz with 11, Gostkowski got him 13, so helped him pull that victory out at the last minute on Monday night. Gostkowski and Josh Gordon got 6. Looking on his bench, he had Javoris Allen with 9. So he could have got some more points if he would have played some of these guys in his flex over Geronimo Allison, who only had 2 points, but got the win. That's all that matters. And then I believe the last matchup we have here is Garrett versus Josh. This was another one of the better matchups of the week, as it was the second and third place teams in the league. Garrett took his first loss of the season. Josh had 138. Garrett had 122. Garrett had Trubisky with 22. Kareem Hunt had 17. David Johnson with 12. AJ Green with 16. Kelsey had 17. Kerryon Johnson had 13. Had Roethlisberger on the bench with 17, so he played the right quarterback. He could have got some more points at defense. He could have got 5 more points playing the Panthers over the Texans. I'm not really sure what I would have done there. He had Westbrook on the bench who had 11. Could have got a few more points if he throws him in the lineup, but not really benching any of his receivers that he played necessarily. Most of his guys pretty much did what you would expect. Obviously Landry and Golden Tate didn't find the end zone, so they each got 8 and 9 points respectively. So, not a horrible day out of his team, just had a tough matchup. We look over here at Josh. He had James White with 20, Joe Mixon with 27, Cooks had 10, Jackson had 15, Tyler Lockett had 12, Adrian Peterson with the big day with 26, Seahawks defense got him 10. Had Peyton Barber on the bench with 15, but he maxed out his running backs there, so he played the right guys there. Not much else on his bench there. Drew Brees struggling this week with 7. Part of that was, how the game played out a little bit. But I don't expect that, too much moving forward. Trey Burton with only 3 points. You might expect a little bit more out of him, but he's kind of boom or bust in my opinion. So that covers all the matchups this week. Obviously, NFL trade deadline was today. All the discussion was taking place in the group chat, so nothing to really cover there. I'm sure most of you guys are keeping tabs on that, got all the notifications, as well as like myself. We will have new rankings up here shortly. And if you guys have any questions, just let me know. See you guys next time.